Hi everyone, welcome back to the Moonlit Circle. If you're new here, I'm Gwendie Belle Moone, author, storyteller, and celestial traveler. Let's do some healing. This week actually marks a very monumental shift for me. My nursing career has formally ended. I'm staying on just a little bit longer with my current company to help tie off some loose ends, but the full-time chapter is now closed, and now it's time to open the full Gwendieverse. That's what we're calling this next era, the fully expanded Gwendie universe. Now, remember, I'm not insane, so I did build myself in a week of respite. Don't worry, you're still going to see your daily journal prompts over on the Moonlit Circle on Facebook. But starting next Sunday, you'll have full details on what Gwendieverse is going to look like. You'll know when to tune in, where to look, what platform that is going to have specific data, and what kind of magic we'll bring together. So, we've already built out quite a bit so far together, and those things aren't going anywhere. Over on Facebook, we've been growing our Moonlit Circle community from the very beginning, a place for our deep thought journal prompts and reflections. We've got Moonlit Mondays for fresh beginnings. We've got Transformation Tuesdays for growth. On Whimsical Wednesdays, we touch on some curiosities, and on Thoughtful Thursdays, we do some reflection. And of course, we also have Social Sundays, which have morphed into like our weekly campfire here on YouTube, where we kind of catch up on my writing journey, branding, publishing, and what's been going on in our sky and in our hearts, and in my own little world. So this week, our celestial focus is actually going to be on Mother Earth, radiant, steady, and ever patient, and what it means to root ourselves before we rise. So let's get started, everyone. Okay, so first off, let's talk about storytelling. Because friends, the literary world and pretty much the whole of the internet are absolutely buzzing right now. One content creator named Without a Crystal Ball here on YouTube recently covered the lawsuit surrounding Colleen Hoover and her book-to-film adaptation of It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively, a woman who prides herself on her own storytelling abilities, and how the lawsuit is negatively impacting the success of Colleen's latest book-to-film release. And I have a few thoughts. So, first, that movie's train wreck energy. Let's go down that path. And when I say that movie, you could honestly apply this critique to both of the Colleen Hoover movies that are currently out. We just happen to see greater success in numbers for It Ends With Us because people couldn't look away from the extremely public, extremely tragic nightmare it had become. So it actually did pretty well for as conflicting as its release was, but this new movie is not doing so great. With It Ends With Us, you could basically see, what happened there. You could see it coming from the stratosphere that Colleen's new movie was going to be a disaster. But it ended up being a disaster in a different way. It was messy, and people watched out of sheer curiosity with It Ends With Us. But that, again, was that train wreck energy. They had to see what was going to happen. But here's my deeper take. Colleen Hoover has a knack for mixing pain and passion, rapidly developing romantic situations woven throughout trauma and toxicity in relationships. It's emotional dynamite, and personally, I get it. In a book that really works for a romantic vibe, it works in book form because the reader controls the pace of how they're digesting that information. Reading actually gives you time to sit in your own mind, reflect, and process feelings on your own terms. You can even do this with audiobook reading when you're listening to audiobooks, because you have a moment to pause, or you can slow it down. Some people like listening to them a little bit faster, but you can control the pace that you're digesting that information. Reading actually gives you time to sit in your own mind and reflect and process feelings on your own terms. But movies, movies kind of do that work for you. They don't really allow you to feel your own feelings. They sort of compress emotion into single dictated experiences, visuals and sounds that are really crafted to tell you exactly what to feel and when to feel it. So when a story deals with abuse, control, trauma, those kinds of things, the cinematic version really strips out the reflective pause that a book gives you. It removes the mirror where you can take a look at how you feel like you connect with the story. And that's honestly why audiences are kind of unsettled with this new movie that came out with Colleen. And that's, in my opinion, their critiques are saying other things, and some people are speculating that this is the result of the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit. But I don't believe so. I think that women are drawn to Colleen's story. Those women aren't just craving love. They're craving feeling. They want to remember what it means to feel alive, to feel passionate, to feel something worth staying awake for. Not just love. They want to feel that pang of heartache. They want to feel that stab of jealousy just before the sigh of relief. They aren't getting fulfilled in their daily lives with those experiences, so they turn to these romance novels to emulate feelings and experience emotions, not just love. So it gets a little messy when you try to apply that to a movie screen. The film version makes it too literal, too confined to someone else's lens. It becomes someone else's story instead of a reflective one that you can apply to your own existence. That's the power of literature, honestly. That's the power of books and words on pages. And it's actually why the Look at Me series will speak to the same women, from a very different space. It's not about trauma as spectacle. It's about transformation through tenderness, truth, and time. So I'm curious, do you guys think that Colleen Hoover is a bad writer because her movie's flopping? Personally, I absolutely do not believe that. I think that her writing is pretty simplistic and pretty fast-paced. Her stories were simply not designed to be shared on the big screen. So I predict this recent craze for book-to-film in the romance genre may not take off like some had been hoping for. Real quick, let's pivot from writing to life because, this is normally when I would take you guys on a bit of my branding journey. But branding isn't just logos and fonts. It's about legacy. And so in order to talk about legacy, we have to talk about my life. I have 4 sons, and let me tell you about them. They're pretty great. One's a creative at heart, very soulful, artistic, and he has a very gentle, loving wife who brings so much light to the family. One's an engineer at heart, very precise, methodical, the kind of brain that builds worlds. And another one is an old soul at heart. He's very grounded, steady, the emotional compass of our family, albeit a touch hedonistic. This one's got a tiny little moon in his orbit, and she is the light of the world. I'll be seeing her in a few short weeks. And the youngest one's an explorer at heart. He's curious, brave, and endlessly seeking what's next. And I just wanted to throw that out there. Honestly, my creative, my oldest, he's got that spark. He's the real writer in the family, second only to his uncle, my younger brother, who speaks poetry like it's freaking oxygen. I hope one day that they both decide to pick their pens up again. The world deserves that. And then, let's see, in my legacy, there's also Mr. Moon. He's my ride or die. We're homies. I try my best to keep him eating well, taking vitamins, to force him into a long and bountiful life together. So he puts up with that. But Mr. Moon, well, he's actually started fancying himself as my MooneGuard. He actually made that up, and honestly, it's perfect, clever, protective, and exactly the energy I need. He's my personal knight of the Gwendieverse, my steady orbit guardian, and that's usually about where the explorer sun starts rolling his eyes and saying, "Oh, gag me." I can't help it. But that's the thing. Every single one of them represents a different force in and around my orbit, and there are plenty of others. There's, I've got creators in my life. I've got builders, anchors, seekers, and protectors, and they're all in my orbit. And they remind me that legacy isn't about what you make. It isn't about a thing. It's about who your existence is tethered to. Who are you linked to? And what stories you leave behind in the people who carry your light forward? What are these people going to carry forward in your story? That's what branding really is. It's alignment. It's the story of who you are reflected really in everything that you touch, from your home to your work to your art to your conversations to your relationships. It all comes back to being aligned with who you are. That's branding. So take a look around. What's your own legacy made of? I'm really curious. You guys let me know in the comments section, who stands in your orbit and what light do you leave behind when you move on? Okay, so real quick, let's weave those two ideologies together, storytelling and legacy. When we write about broken love, failed systems, fading dreams, that sort of negativity, we're really exploring patterns of transformation. I mean, if you're going to transform, you're coming from somewhere. So when you're talking about those things, that's the start of the journey, the first step. It's never just about what happened. It's about how we are integrating that into our lives. That's why the Gwendieverse isn't about chasing fame or perfection. It's about sustainable magic, bringing everyday, ordinary existence a bit of magic, a little slice of something sparkly, crafting a life that feels intentional and not just in the words, but actually brings you that sense of being intentional. So in merging together storytelling and trying to leave behind a legacy, you should ask yourself this: what am I creating that will outlive the current season of me? What are you creating? This is where it comes back to the thing, not just the people. What is the actual thing you are leaving behind? Are you leaving behind an idea? Are you leaving behind an empty space in someone's life? Those are the things that you should ask yourself. And how am I honoring the stories that brought me here without letting them define me? Because the moment you answer those questions, you become your own author, not just of your book, but of your entire life. And there's the part that most people overlook is that, being the author doesn't mean controlling the story. It means staying curious while you're still inside of it. You're in your story right now. Look around. You don't need to have the ending figured out to start writing with intention. Maybe your legacy isn't about the thing you finish. Maybe it's about how you loved, or what you noticed, or how you kept going when the plot got hard. There's going to be quite a bit of that in the Looking at the Moon series. How do we persevere? How do we make it through another day? Every choice you make in your life is just a sentence in the story of who you're becoming. You don't have to know the ending. You just have to keep writing it with purpose. So when you leave this space today, remember, storytelling isn't confined to pages. Your words are your life, and your life is your greatest manuscript. That's the heartbeat of Gwendieverse. And I hope that you guys are seeing that creating art and meaning that don't just exist for now, but echo through every person you touch, every word you write, and every quiet moment you dare to live honestly. We're in this to win it, and being superficial gets us nowhere, moonbeams. So let's dig in. Okay. I'm really excited for this next part. We're going to talk about the newest Gwendieverse segment. It's called The Dark Side of the Moon. This is where we explore the shadows, the uncomfortable truths, the boundaries, and the messy side of love and human behavior. Traditionally, the dark side of the moon is seen as the abyss, the unseen, the mysterious, the dangerous, what's over there. We don't know it's the dark side of the moon. But in the lover's realm of romanticism, we reclaim it. It's just another side of love. It's where discernment lives. It's the quiet space where truth is stripped of performance. Let's take a stab at our first test subject, if you will, for the dark side of the moon. Since she's already been mentioned here, we can talk about Blake Lively and the "It Ends With Us" controversy. There's a lot of noise online about her behavior, professionalism, or lack thereof, and the way the film handled intimate and verbal abuse, vulnerable subject matter, because if you're not aware, the movie itself was about DV. But the promotion of the film by Blake afterwards was anything but. It's gotten pretty ugly, from lawsuits to leaked footage to people weaponizing someone else's trauma for entertainment. The whole thing's been quite the mess, and I've been following it with some content creators. And I have some thoughts. There has been some very atrocious goings on with this suit, not least of which is the current audacity of Blake's team demanding the public humiliation of a mother by releasing her entire birthing video when only a tiny clip of the birth was ever involved in this issue to begin with. So it's an overreach. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And in my opinion, the rule of three is about to destroy the Blake Lively empire. I personally believe we're all going to have to do some soul searching on how we will ever move forward without the alleged infamous, unstable unravelings and childish, ego-driven outbursts of Blake Lively, because no one else is ever going to give that woman a role again. She's lost her chance, for sure. But I digress. So here's the thing. We're banishing Blake to the dark side of the moon. That's right. Get over there. We don't want you. Into the abyss you go. But the dark side moments aren't just about unseemly celebrity behavior. I kind of want to put that aside. This isn't just a dig at celebrities for the sake of funds. It's about us. The culture of consumption that rewards chaos, punishes vulnerability, and calls it empowerment. Ew. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. But we can use this to our advantage. This horrific case being splayed open for us daily, where we see families being destroyed and run through with endless stress, even if it's of their own making, families targeted by the unstable of society, reputations and careers ruined, and for what? An ego trip, allegedly. A bigger title, allegedly. Greed, allegedly. But what's the lesson under the surface for us, mere mortals who don't know anything about what it's like to girl boss too close to the sun or to be a part of the Hollywood machine? This Watching this train wreck play out in the media is a mirror moment. And the lesson is screaming at us that we can't heal that which we keep sensationalizing. Okay, I'm going to say that again in a couple of different ways to make sure that you heard it, because this lesson is huge, moonbeams, and I want to make sure that you hear it. How else can we put it into words? You cannot heal from that which we keep sensationalizing. Another way to put it, you can't mend what you keep turning into a spectacle. Wounds don't close when they're kept on stage under the spotlight. Am I making sense here? Healing requires reverence, not rebroadcasting. You can't continue to wallow in the pain, the moment that caused the emotion. You cannot continue to wallow in that and expect to heal. You cannot continue to tell your story seeking attention or trying to get people to take your side or believe you. It's not about that. And if you continue to force it into being about that, then you turn into a bit of a spectacle and you don't heal. And so unfortunately, that's where Blake Lively's finding herself right now. And it's very unfortunate and it's very embarrassing. And I hope that she figures it out. But, what's our takeaway here with this situation? Learning the lesson, you can't heal from that which you keep sensationalizing is nice and all, but how do we apply that? So I just want you guys to know that the dark side of the moon, or the dark side in general, isn't the enemy. In fact, I believe all power and energy is innately neutral. It's our intentions and our emotional reactions that bring about the idea of, good versus evil. The dark side of the moon, other than being hands down the best album of all space and time, is an invitation to look in the mirror, see what reflects back to you. It's where boundaries become sacred and accountability becomes a form of love. I hope you all enjoyed this section. I love a good celebrity gossip column, and I'm always here for a scandal or a wild public legal battle between, rich and famous people. There's definitely some lessons to be learned from these moments and from people who we may end up banishing to the dark side of the moon in the future. I have a few opinions as an example, on our handsy-grabby control freak Duchess of Montecito that we could dive into. So I'd love to hear from all of you. Let me know which celebrities have you learned lessons from, good or bad, and which of them should we banish with Blake Lively to the dark side of the moon? I'm curious. Okay, so speaking of It Ends With Us, I wanted to address the incredible uniqueness of each individual relationship that has ever existed through all of space and time. And every combination of two people really creates a very unique relationship, a fingerprint of energy that no other two people are ever going to create. Some are soft, some are stormy, but all are teaching you how to meet yourself. If love in a relationship feels hard, feels difficult, feels impossible, it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means you're still learning your language. You're still learning how to love. You're still learning what you need to feel loved. You can't receive the right kind of love until you believe you deserve it. And furthermore, you can't love someone well until you met your own heart with gentleness first. This lesson in love took me the longest to understand, and to be honest, I wish everybody knew this. I think this would save a lot of heartache, probably a lot of divorces too. After several divorces and restarts, I began to believe the worst stories about myself, that I was too much, not enough, undeserving, or simply, a consolation prize or a runner-up. But none of that was true. I wasn't unworthy. I was just unaligned with myself. And that's the truth no one tells you. Sometimes two good people simply don't belong in the same story. That doesn't make them villains. It just means the chapter served its purpose. Some loves are meant to heal you, others are meant to wake you up. And if I'm honest, there's really only one I wouldn't mind never seeing again. You know who you are. But even that person was a mirror. They showed me my edges, where I still needed to soften, where I still needed to say no, where I still needed to love and honor myself first, where I still needed to set boundaries. It took me years to learn that forgiveness isn't about pretending that it didn't hurt. Oh, it hurt. But it's not about that. It's about letting the lesson be the legacy. So if you've loved and lost, or loved and outgrown someone, please know this. The end of one love doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're making room for a truer version of yourself, and for the kind of love that will meet you there and be there forever. Okay, gang, so over on Facebook, that's funny. I used to call my team at my job gang, and so I would say, hey, gang, and I just called you guys gang, so there's that. So over at Facebook, this week's Sunday Sky Map highlights Mother Earth. That's going to be our focal point for this week. Mother Earth is the most radiant being in our entire solar system. She's our entire life support system, so we love her for that. She reminds us that sacredness doesn't live in stillness. It lives in rhythm. She spins, she shifts, she breathes, she carries every one of us along. So your ritual this week is going to be very simple and powerful. Stand barefoot on the ground, really sink your feet into the earth. Breathe in the nature around you and whisper, Mother Earth, keep me steady while I grow. So this is a practice called grounding, and sometimes it's also referred to as earthing. You can probably tell why. But I want to break down for you this very simple ritual to show you the benefits of this practice. So as you place your feet on the ground, know that you're not just rooting your intention, you're reconnecting to Earth's rhythm, its heartbeat. Specifically, the Earth's heartbeat is called the Schumann resonance, and it's the frequencies that we find in our world between Earth's surface and the ionosphere. And it's evenly spread across that range. And the frequencies are mostly made of the collective average of lightning strikes around the world. I think it's something like 50 a day, which creates a steady, typically harmonious frequency of 7.83 hertz, which is phenomenal. It's outrageous. And there's a ton of neurospecialists who believe that this frequency actually influences human brainwave behavior. Whew, I digress again. Okay, so back to the grounding ritual. Studies actually show that skin to earth contact can calm stress, ease pain, and settle the body's internal clock. So as you're whispering, Mother Earth, keep me steady while I grow, you're doing more than just a little gesture, a little magic. You're aligning with the living pulse that sustains you and every other living entity on this planet. Honestly, it's that level of unseen connection that's the whole Gwendieverse philosophy in one breath, and I just had to share that with you guys. So try your ritual today and see if you can get in tune with the Mother Earth, and the full Sunday sky map highlighting Mother Earth will be available this evening on the Facebook Moonlit Circle, so you guys check that out. And I think that's it for today, you guys. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the little bell so you can stay part of this glowing corner of the internet. If you haven't already done so, make your way over to the Moonlit Circle Origin on Facebook to Join us for some thought exercises and deep reflection with the journal prompts that we do daily. Thanks for joining me, Moonbeams, and keep dreaming, keep wondering, and keep glowing. I will see y'all next time. Bye, everyone.